The Rutherford Scattering simulation is an interactive educational tool designed to help students understand the behavior of alpha particles as they travel through a thin layer of atoms. This simulation allows students to explore the fundamental principles of atomic structure and the groundbreaking experiments conducted by Ernest Rutherford. By providing a visual and hands-on approach, the simulation enhances students' understanding of the Rutherford model of the atom and the limitations of the plum pudding model. This simulation focuses on the behavior of alpha particles as they interact with the nucleus of an atom. This interaction was a key component of Rutherford's gold foil experiment, which revolutionized our understanding of atomic structure. It includes various tools and visual aids to help students explore the deflection of alpha particles and the implications for atomic models. This virtual lab simulation allows students to observe the behavior of alpha particles as they travel through a thin layer of atoms. Alpha particles are positively charged particles emitted by certain radioactive elements. The nucleus of an atom is the central, positively charged region that contains protons and neutrons. This simulation hereby students to observe how alpha particles are deflected when they approach the nucleus. The plum pudding model, proposed by J.J. Thomson, suggested that an atom was composed of a diffuse positive charge embedded with negatively charged electrons. This simulation thus allows students to explore the expected behavior of alpha particles based on this model. Rutherford model, proposed by Ernest Rutherford, suggested that the atom has a small, dense, positively charged nucleus surrounded by a cloud of negatively charged electrons. The simulation, therefore, allows students to observe how the behavior of alpha particles supports this model. This simulation allows students to observe the deflection of alpha particles as they approach the nucleus of an atom. This deflection is caused by the electrostatic repulsion between the positively charged alpha particles and the positively charged nucleus. The Rutherford Scattering virtual simulation provides a hands-on approach to exploring the behavior of alpha particles and the principles of atomic structure. By observing the deflection of alpha particles, students can understand the following key concepts. Alpha particles are positively charged and have a high kinetic energy. As they travel through a thin layer of atoms, they can be deflected by the electrostatic repulsion from the positively charged nucleus. When an alpha particle approaches the nucleus of an atom, it experiences a strong electrostatic repulsion due to the positive charge of the nucleus. This repulsion causes the alpha particle to be deflected. This allows students to observe how the angle of deflection depends on the impact parameter, which is the distance between the alpha particle's path and the center of the nucleus. The plum pudding model suggested that the positive charge in an atom was diffuse and spread out. Based on this model, alpha particles were expected to pass through the atom with minimal deflection. This therefore allows students to explore this expected behavior and compare it to the actual observations made by Rutherford. Rutherford's gold foil experiment showed that a small fraction of alpha particles were deflected at large angles, some even bouncing back. This observation was inconsistent with the plum pudding model and led Rutherford to propose a new model of the atom with a small, dense, positively charged nucleus. This enables students to observe how the behavior of alpha particles supports the Rutherford model. The deflection of alpha particles is caused by the electrostatic repulsion between the positively charged alpha particles and the positively charged nucleus. This allows students to explore how the strength of this repulsion depends on the distance between the alpha particle and the nucleus. The Rutherford Scattering simulation offers several educational benefits. The simulation provides an interactive and engaging way to learn about the behavior of alpha particles and the principles of atomic structure. Students can actively participate in the learning process by observing the deflection of alpha particles and exploring the implications for atomic models. The concepts of atomic structure and the behavior of alpha particles can be abstract and difficult to understand. The simulation provides a visual and tangible representation of these concepts, making them more accessible and understandable. Students can experiment with different impact parameters and observe the resulting deflection of alpha particles. This exploratory approach encourages critical thinking and problem-solving skills. The simulation provides a historical context for the development of atomic models. By exploring the plum pudding model and the Rutherford model, students can understand the evolution of our understanding of atomic structure and the significance of Rutherford's gold foil experiment. The simulation introduces students to the process of data collection and analysis. By observing the deflection of alpha particles, students can collect data on the impact parameter and the angle of deflection. They can use this data to analyze the relationship between the impact parameter and the angle of deflection and draw conclusions about the structure of the atom. To implement the Rutherford scattering simulation in the classroom, teachers can follow these steps. Begin with a brief introduction to the concepts of atomic structure and the behavior of alpha particles. Provide examples to illustrate these concepts and explain how the simulation will help students understand them. Demonstrate the simulation to the class, showing how to observe the behavior of alpha particles as they travel through a thin layer of atoms. Explain the importance of observing the deflection of alpha particles and how it relates to the principles of atomic structure. Allow students to explore the simulation in small groups or individually. Encourage them to experiment with different impact parameters and observe the resulting deflection of alpha particles. Provide worksheets or prompts to guide their exploration and data collection. After collecting data, have students analyze the relationship between the impact parameter and the angle of deflection. They can use the principles of electrostatic repulsion to interpret the data and draw conclusions about the structure of the atom. Facilitate a class discussion to share and compare findings. Encourage students to reflect on what they have learned about the behavior of alpha particles and the principles of atomic structure. Ask them to consider how these concepts apply to other areas of physics and everyday life. The Rutherford scattering simulation is a valuable educational tool that brings the principles of atomic structure and the behavior of alpha particles to life through an interactive and engaging context. By allowing students to observe the deflection of alpha particles and explore the implications for atomic models, the simulation provides a hands-on learning experience that enhances understanding of these fundamental concepts. This interactive approach not only makes learning more enjoyable, but also fosters critical thinking, problem-solving skills, and a deeper appreciation for the historical context and significance of Rutherford's gold foil experiment.